morning in Liqvan village, a gentle mist rests over the mountains. The shepherd guides herds of goats and sheep toward the traditional courtyard. The courtyard is prepared for milking. Clean buckets and cloths are ready. Sheep and goats are gently milked, collecting fresh milk. Fresh milk passes through cloth strainers to remove impurities. Milk is heated in clay pots over a wood-fired flame. Natural rennet is added to the milk to begin the curdling process. The milk slowly turns into cheese, forming curds. Curds are cut with wooden knives, separating excess whey. Curds are transferred into clean cheesecloth to be pressed. Cheesecloth filled with curds is placed between wooden molds and carefully pressed. Molds are gently rotated to ensure even pressure throughout the curds. Excess whey drains from the mold holes into clay buckets. A second layer of curds is added and pressed again for firmness. Evening sunlight shines over cheese molds and the stone courtyard. Cheeses are carefully removed from molds to prepare for the next stage. Cheeses are wrapped in clean cloth to maintain their shape. Natural salt is sprinkled on the cheese surface for flavor and preservation. Cheeses are stacked on wooden shelves for initial drying. Artisans carefully observe the drying process, applying their practiced skill. Afternoon sunlight shines on the cheeses on the shelves, aiding the drying process. Cheeses are gently turned to ensure even drying. Artisans touch the cheese surface to check dryness and readiness. Evening breeze flows through the courtyard, aiding ventilation for the cheeses. Artisans prepare a solution of natural water and salt for long-term preservation. Cheeses are gently submerged in the salt solution. Artisans monitor the immersion time to achieve proper flavor and texture. After initial maturation, cheeses are carefully removed from the brine solution. Excess salt is drained from the cheeses, preparing them for packaging. Artisans carefully observe the surface and texture of the cheeses, applying their expertise. Clean, textured cloths are prepared for wrapping the cheeses. Cheeses are carefully wrapped in cloth to maintain shape and freshness. Cloths are tied with natural strings, securing the cheeses for storage. Each cheese is marked with the village stamp and production date. Cheeses are gently stacked on shelves and wooden baskets for long-term storage. Gentle air flows through storage vents, aiding the ventilation of the cheeses. Artisans carefully monitor the maturation process of the cheeses. Cheese quality is checked by smell and touch. Mature cheeses are prepared for transport to local markets. Cheeses are gently loaded onto a donkey cart for transport. The cart carrying Liqvan cheeses leaves the village, heading toward the local market. The cart arrives at the local market, where cheeses are ready for display and sale. Cheeses are carefully unloaded from the cart and arranged on market tables. Cheeses are organized by size and shape for an appealing display. Artisans greet customers with smiles, explaining the traditional cheese-making process. Artisans demonstrate the cheese texture by touching and slicing a sample. Customers carefully touch and smell the cheeses before making their choice. Cheeses are sold by weight and customer request. Purchased cheeses are carefully wrapped in traditional cloths. Customers leave the market smiling, carrying traditional Liqvan cheeses. The cart returns peacefully to the village as the sun sets on the horizon. The empty cart returns from the market to the stable and storage area. Artisans carefully clean the wooden molds, preparing them for the next use. Clay pots and buckets are washed with fresh water. Traditional tools like knives, brushes, and cloths are arranged and prepared for use. Artisans inspect the shelves and stored cheeses carefully. Artisans prepare fresh ingredients for the next batch of cheese. Fresh milk is mixed with rennet to start the coagulation process. Artisans carefully observe the curds to determine the right timing for the next step. Clean cloths are prepared to collect curds and shape the cheeses. Curds are carefully poured into prepared cloths to begin shaping. Cloths are skillfully tied to maintain the cheese's intended shape. Cheeses are pressed into wooden molds using traditional methods. Artisans carefully monitor the separation of whey from curds. The pressure on the molds is adjusted to achieve the proper texture. After initial maturation, cheeses are removed from the molds. Cheeses are placed on shelves for drying and ventilation. Cheeses are gently turned to ensure even drying. Cheeses are placed in the village's gentle sunlight to dry completely. Artisans inspect the sun-dried cheeses by touch and sight. Natural mountain salt is prepared for the final cheese curing stage. Cheeses are carefully sprinkled with salt to enhance flavor and preservation. Salt is rubbed into the cheese surfaces with precise hand movements. Cheeses rest in salt for several hours to achieve full flavor and texture. Excess salt is brushed off the cheese surfaces using natural brushes. Finished cheeses are wrapped in traditional cloths. Each cheese is tied and stamped with the village seal for identification. Final cheeses are stacked on shelves ready for storage and sale. Artisans check storage conditions to ensure cheeses are perfectly preserved. Cheeses are prepared for packaging and transport for the next local market sale. The village youth gather to learn the traditional art of cheese making. Artisans demonstrate the technique of stirring milk to the young learners. The curdling process with rennet is explained carefully. The youth, guided by artisans, carefully cut the curds. Curds are transferred into cloth to begin shaping the young cheese. Artisans demonstrate how to press the cheese to the young learners. The youth observe the whey separating from the curds carefully. Artisans teach the youth how to apply salt to the cheese surfaces. The youth learn to wrap the cheeses in traditional cloths carefully. Cheeses made by the new generation are displayed for review and experience. The village prepares for the harvest celebration, honoring the cheese production. Fresh traditional cheeses are displayed on wooden tables for the celebration. Traditional lanterns are lit, warming the festive atmosphere. Artisans and villagers admire the cheeses, appreciating the effort and tradition. Experienced artisans share their knowledge with the youth of the village. Traditional music and dance fill the celebration with joy. Artisans reflect on the cheeses and ancient traditions, thinking of past and future. The sun sets behind the mountains, bathing the village in warm golden light. Workshops fall silent, tools resting and ready for the next day. The village looks to the future with hope, preserving Liqvan cheese and ancient traditions.